he must be kicking himself. Although I'm not sure how much of a difference it would have made in the long run, even
No.
with England winning the football, even with the economy looking a little bit better. I think people had already decided, and I guess he knew that in his gut, which is why he decided to go when he did. And in the meantime, for Labour, I mean, what a time to come in. As you say, he is a very lucky general. This is all stuff that he certainly didn't have anything to do with. And when it comes to the football, I don't think the last government did either. But it all falls at a moment where it looks good.
Um, is this a honeymoon, Matthew?
Yes, but I think every prime minister is entitled to a honeymoon, and he can take credit for things that have gone well, probably arranged by his predecessor. And probably whenever things go badly, that will be blamed on his predecessor. But that's what you do when you're a new prime minister. Rishi Sunak and the Tories must be cursing that early election. He would be prime minister now with things going well with the euros and with the news that the economy is growing faster than anybody thought. He would still be prime minister. Instead, all the credit is going to his successor, but that's politics.
I suppose it just does point again, Manveen, to the odd decision to call the election when he did.
Yeah, I mean, like as Matthew says, he must be kicking himself. Although I'm not sure how much of a difference it would have made in the long run. Even
No.
with England winning the football, even with the economy looking a little bit better, I think people had already decided, and I guess he knew that in his gut, which is why he decided to go when he did. And in the meantime, for Labour, I mean, what a time to come in. As you say, he is a very lucky general. This is all stuff that he certainly didn't have anything to do with. And when it comes to the football, I don't think the last government did either. But it all falls at a moment where it looks good. But I think it's a bit more than that. Things do just feel a little bit hopeful at the moment. I mean, I think people are quite impressed with the sort of just the sense of competence returning, which is oddly reassuring. I think sort of a lot of the appointments he's made have felt very hopeful, and it's partly because they're not political. It is bringing in technocrats and people who seem to know what they're doing, which I think just sort of reminds people that government doesn't have to be, a mad psychodrama with everybody in cabinet turning on each other, and actually you can just get things done. So that part, I think, is the hopeful bit of the honeymoon that he can take responsibility for. The rest of it, God, he's lucky.
Matthew, I suppose there is the contrast between so much of political news, discourse, debate, comment for so long had been internal fighting within the Conservative Party, which wing was on the up, which was on the way out, who was briefing against who and so on. But, part of the honeymoon is that for now, at least 1 week in, we haven't had cabinet whispers or leaks or anything like that.
No, 1 week in. It's there's a little while still to go. I think. I mean, I agree with Manveen that there is a sort of feeling of a clear out and freshness and hopefulness in the air. But there always is after a general election in which the last lot have been kicked out and the next lot come in, and quite a lot has to do with the way that we in the media are reporting things. I mean, didn't we just get sick of Tory fighting, infighting, internecine wars? We reported all that as a sort of terrible psychodrama, and the news story is fresh, new, clean sheet, competent people, and we shall be reporting that in that way. But we help reinforce an impression of total change, total turning a new page, when in fact it generally turns out that no particularly new pages have been turned.
And we've already had our first, it's worse than I thought. Keir Starmer, travelling with journalists to America, has said the prison overcrowding crisis is worse than he thought. He's pretty shocked that it's been allowed to get into this situation. It's reckless to allow for the Tories to allow to have got it into this place. And this is all rolling the pitch for the fact that we think probably as early as tomorrow, the new Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is going to have to announce that criminals will be automatically freed after serving 40% of their sentence. A policy which, bluntly, if Alex Chalk had got his way, the Conservative Justice Secretary, if he'd have announced that a few weeks ago, the Labour Party would have been absolutely up in arms about it, Manvey.
They did.
Yeah, they would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they would have been up in arms, but also I don't think the Tory party was in a position to be able to carry that through. They knew how desperate it would have gone down so badly with their base just before an election. So in a way, that's the real benefit of a honeymoon. they can actually get some of these really unpopular things done with the narrative of, we can't believe how bad it is, we've got to push this stuff through. But at least for the country, it means that things are moving, which they haven't been for an awfully long time. And I think that moment is quite hopeful. But again, as Matthew says, who knows how long it'll last. But for now, let's make the most of it.
But Matthew, can they? I mean, I suppose that is the thing, isn't it? Just do all the tough stuff at the beginning. Let them, take the tough decisions on spending, settle the doctors' strike, let out prisoners if you need to, and just try to maintain that narrative. Oh, we would prefer not to be doing this, obviously, but it's all the Tories' fault.
Yeah, Manveen is so right about that. The next, I would say, until the autumn, this new government have the opportunity to do all kinds of things that the tired old last government couldn't have done, even if they wanted to. They have the opportunity to do unpopular things that they have. I would love to look at them to look at the indeterminate imprisonment things where we've got prisoners who were committed crimes something like 18 years ago and would have got about 2 years, but were given indeterminate sentences. That has now been abolished, but they're still in prison. And the Tories, well, Alex Chalk wanted to get rid of that, but was afraid the Daily Mail and the Labour Party would say rapists are going to be trampling through our vegetable gardens, and didn't dare. Well, Labour could do that now. There are so many unpopular things. And really, good government is doing unpopular things, and this is their chance.
I kind of see you guys as the knot tying the transatlantic alliance together. The closer you are with Europe, the more you're engaged, the more, because we know where you are, we know where we are in both countries.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And now we go into a cup final on Sunday on top of all of that. So very good. I actually I began to watch the game with the Netherlands Prime Minister, but we left at 1-1.
Well, you guys are still talking to one another?
We haven't seen each other since, so we'll have to see.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. So thank you all for coming in.